All right, the injuries for today. Alexander will be limited. Coleman is full. Dee Ford will not practice today, and Mostert is full. Go ahead.
Ford, any aggravation with Ford, or is this normal?
No, same situation as last week.
The Packers have kind of been on an upward momentum swing. What has changed with them from the time you played them the last time till where they are now?
They were a pretty good team before we played them last time. I think that game just got away from them, with the turnover to start and things like that. But they played the same way they played all year. They just had one bad game. They've been a tough team offensively and defensively all year and done a good job not turning it over, and their defense has kept people from scoring.
How to keep the guys focused from thinking that is where the norm is for them and getting them ready to be up for this?
It's not too hard because, the guys will see tape on them from the whole year. And even if you go back and watch our game, that was a lot more, that was much more competitive than the score looked. You get 38 points and things like that, but you go to some of the turnovers that happened, some big plays, but it was a lot harder of a game than it seemed. And all the other games that you watch on tape, it looks like you're playing a real good team. It looks like you're playing a team that has a record that they do.
Story you told about Kittle the other day and everybody stepping up. How much of that is something you've really instilled, and how much of that is the character of the guys you have on the team?
Yeah, it's something you talk about a lot because it's your goal, but you can't just talk people into being that way. They got to actually be that way, and guys are extremely competitive. Everyone wants to help and contribute, but I think it has to do with that our team really likes each other. I know how close Akello and Mosley are. I know how much they all respect each other. Our team, I feel like, is as tight of a team as I've been on, and I think that's what helps us in situations like that.
Have you made a decision at right cornerback?
Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea, but I'm not going to tell you guys till I have to, which I never will, so someone else probably will.
In terms of what you saw out of Dee Ford coming back last week, just how did that affect how the Vikings tried to block you guys, and how did that free up the pass rush for other guys?
I think you guys could probably notice the same thing that Minnesota noticed. Just his get off on the edge opens up a lot of spots for everyone else and for himself, and then you put him inside, and you can do some different games and things like that. But Dee Ford is explosive, knows how to get to the quarterback, and the more out there, whether they get the stats or not, helps everyone else.
Did you make a conscious decision maybe that Kittle wasn't going to be as focused on in that game? And do you go into games sometimes making a decision like that on him?
No, not really with guys personally. I always watch the team we're going against and how they play and how they try to win. And then we think of what we have to do to not allow them to do that. So we knew going into that game that it was going to be hard to beat that team without getting a bunch of runs in. And we were able to stick with it, and the way the defense played and how good our tight ends are at blocking and stuff and how we did on third down just allowed us to stick with it. And it's just nice that, not that I would listen anyways, but we got a bunch of guys that are they're focused on the right things. They're not worried about stuff that doesn't matter. So they're just all out there trying to win the game, and it's pretty nice as a coach. You don't have to deal with guys coming up to you throughout the game like, hey, get me involved here, get me involved there. Our guys just want to win, and we've done that a lot of different ways. And we've done that running the ball, we've done it throwing the ball, we've done it on special teams, we've done it on defense. So I think we've done it almost every way possible this year, and I think our players have really bought into that.
Kittle never suggests passing plays, but he suggests run plays. Does he suggest good run plays, and do you follow his advice?
The run plays he suggests are kind of half thoughts. They're more to how he can hit someone. Let me go get this guy, and then I got to figure out what run play allows him to do that. But he knows his run spot, and you got to think of how to tie that into all 11.
When you say these guys like each other, Joe Staley was saying the same thing after the game the other night, and he was saying how unusual he felt it was given his other experiences. You've been with a lot of teams. Is this team, does it have a different vibe?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. That was something that I felt a little bit when we went on a run in Atlanta with our team. It's something that we've been trying to establish here, and I felt like we had that a lot better than I expected in the first couple of years, and it didn't result in winning, which was always disappointing. But that's something we always talked about. Man, we got the right guys. They won't stop working. They don't point fingers, and when you go 4-12, every place usually does do that. And so it said a lot about our guys. Sometimes we almost worried, does that mean we need some worse guys because we're not winning? But we stuck with it. We brought in a few guys who were thought the same way as our other guys, and some difference makers with the pass rush and some guys on offense too. And I feel like our team's been this way since the beginning. And when you do that and you win, it only gets stronger.
You go from 4-12 to the NFC Championship game in less than a year. How much of a springboard was essentially trading a year of reps for Jimmy for Nick Bosa?
It's definitely helped. Everything happens for a reason, and you need to get good players in to some difference makers, and Bosa's definitely been a difference maker. So I'm very glad we have him. I don't wish 4-12 on anybody, but after going through it, it was nice what it brought us.
Your time in the league, just about Aaron and his ability to bounce back. Obviously, that game that you guys had in November probably didn't go the way he wanted, but what have you learned about him and just the way he can respond in situations like that?
That he can make a throw in any situation. He's never out of the game. I think we were up 23-0 at halftime versus him, and he went and made it 23-8 after his first drive, and it's 23-8 halfway through the third quarter, and I think it's a tie game because of who's over there at quarterback. And we were fortunate enough, I think, the next drive to get that big play to Kittle, which made it 30-8, and then it kind of got away. But Aaron is as good of a player who's played this game. He can make every single throw. He's got a lot of players around him, and there's a reason he seems to be in this game a lot.
Kyle, following up on that, you've obviously worked with quarterbacks for a long time and probably watched them differently than everybody else. What element of his game do you think has allowed him to play at this level at 36, whatever age he is now?
That there's probably not anyone on the planet who throws better than him. There might be a couple guys that you can compare with him, but his arm talent is just unbelievable. His athletic ability is unbelievable. He's always been able to run around, extend plays, make throws from any angle, and he's a very intelligent guy who can get them in the right play, and it's hard to throw stuff at him that he's not prepared for.
Well, you mentioned the Warriors a couple days ago. You're a sports fan, but did there anything you picked up from them? Did you watch them closely about how that run went?
I wouldn't say in particular. I've always been a fan of them, and even before I got here, just watching how they play. I remember saying in Atlanta, even when we were there, that I wanted our receiver group to be similar to the Warriors, to where who knows who the starter is. They all play Andre Iguodala, things like that. I think he wasn't the starter, and then he's the conference finals or whatever it's called, NBA Championship MVP. 7 games that mattered at the end. So you think of stuff like that, and that stuff, you got an MVP, you got a defensive MVP, you just got guys who seem really not to care how it gets done. They all just go out there and ball and see where the weakness in the defense is, and wherever that ends up, that guy shoots. And that's a lot how I see offense.
Now, Joe Staley's been honest about nearly retiring, right in that range when you got here. How much has it meant to the team to have a guy like that buy in and become a leader when he was kind of,
It means a lot, just because how good of a player Joe is. When he would say some of that stuff early on, it always surprised me because I always go off the tape, and he didn't look like a guy who should be considering retirement. I thought he looked as good when we got here as he ever had, and I think he looks even better now. So that always surprised me, but I think Joe really loves football, and I don't think he was having that much fun. It's never fun when you aren't winning, and then that's what was hard for me. I thought he did buy in, and to start out 0-9 and to watch his frustration with that, but he kept doing it the right way, and then to go 4-12, and I think Joe can play, and his body's good, but I think guys do get sick of losing and stuff. But I think he's having a lot of fun playing now. I think he always has, but now with how good the team is around him and stuff, you guys would have to ask him, but hopefully he's not thinking about that as much anymore.
It was very early in your coaching career, obviously, but do you have any recollections about the 2005 draft and how it shook out with Aaron falling as far as he did?
Yeah, I remember.
What was your take on Aaron, maybe pre-draft, and how the process played out for him?
I was a quality control coach in Tampa Bay. They only asked me receiver questions at that time.
The game against your dad when you were an assistant in Houston, I think, once in the regular season.
What's that?
You coached the game against your dad in Houston when you
Yeah.
were in Houston and he was in Denver in the regular season. So what was that kind of like, and what do you think it'll be like for the LaFleurs on this stage?
It's always a little bit different just because of how close you are with the other person, and I know Matt and Mike are as close as any brothers can be, just like most people are with siblings, but it really doesn't matter. There's a lot of talk to it and stuff, but there's no feelings when that game goes on. There's no feelings when you're studying and preparing. Everyone cares about the other person, and I know if we weren't in it, I know he'd be pulling for his brother, just like when I wasn't going against my dad, I was always pulling for him. But I know when you go against each other that stuff doesn't matter. Everyone's got a job to do, and everyone's pretty competitive and wants to win also.
Kyle, a couple of weeks ago, you said that Kenneth Bourne reminds you of your son, who I believe is 9 years old.
Just turned 10.
Could you elaborate on?
I didn't mean that as an insult. I meant that as a compliment. As KB, I heard claimed because I love my son. But no, I just meant that as in he's very innocent to a lot of things. I mean, he's just very upbeat. The way you guys see him make a great catch in a game, in a divisional playoff game, that's a diving catch over the middle and a huge pressure situation, and the way he gets up and does his dances and stuff, and it's like, how's the pressure not getting to him? And it's because that's exactly how he looks on Wednesday. I bet you that's exactly how he woke up out of bed today when probably ate Fruit Loops and watched cartoons. But he, I mean, the guy's just the same all the time. The pressure doesn't get to him, and he's fun to be around.
The same thing about Debo?
I mean, yeah, similar. All those guys, they're football players who play like men out there in terms of they're very physical. They're not scared of the moment, but they also remind you a lot that they're kids too, and they're kind of in that spot where, I mean, I feel like I turned 40 about a month ago, so I feel like I just left the kid area also. But I think all of us got a lot of youth in them, but those guys got more than others.
There's so much history.
Garoppolo does not get the kind of credit maybe he might deserve, even though he's just continued to win.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how this world works. I mean, and you'll get credit if you win a Super Bowl or an NFL MVP or something like that. I mean, I think we run the ball last week, so a lot of people are going to say that Jimmy didn't do enough. But there's lots of games this year that we haven't been able to run the ball, and we've had to win it by passing. So that's what I'm proud of with Jimmy and proud of our team, that you can't really say that we have to win a game a certain way. I think we've shown that we can win a number of ways, which shows a lot to our players. And I know Jimmy doesn't care how we win it, whether we're running it, throwing it, whether we got to do it on defense and protect the ball, or whether we got to air it out and get some points. So a lot of guys say that it doesn't bother him, but I promise it doesn't bother him. I've never had to call him in and talk to him about it. He is so locked into whatever the plan is, whatever we're doing, and he's just trying to distribute the ball.
There's so much history with this franchise, Kyle. How have you been able to embrace it and to maybe draw from the history of the legendary 49er teams?
I mean, I think it helps with, the age I'm in. I mean, I was born in '79, so I remember the Niners throughout the '80s growing up, and then I was here with my dad in '94 where they won that Super Bowl. So, I think just being around it, I knew exactly how special it was. But I think people from my generation also, when they think of teams, the big-time teams, I mean, it was the Niners, the Cowboys. When you got baseball, you got the Yankees and the Red Sox. And from growing up with me, and basketball was always the Bulls. A little bit before the Celtics, but in Detroit. But I think you have those teams, and that's what the Niners have always been. And, it had been a few down years, I think since 12 or whenever it was. But that does happen too. And we knew we had to build this up and get back here. But we knew how good of an organization it was. And when you do have a good organization, usually those tough times don't last if you can just stay the course and be a little bit patient.
You have a few key players on the team who came via trade. I know every trade is different, but generally, what would you say about John's ability to get you some of the players that you really needed?
John and his staff have been unbelievable. When we came here, we knew we had to go get some. There were a lot here to start with that have worked out very well, but we also knew we had a lot of hard work in front of us. And John and his staff have presented all that stuff and got us a ton of guys. And it's been great because even the big key ones that everyone knows about that have been a huge difference. But also we've had a lot of injuries this year too, where a lot of guys have had to step up, and our depth has really been challenged this year. And I think that's a credit to our personnel staff.
In retrospect, what did the Emmanuel Sanders trade do for the offense as a whole?
It gave us a big pickup when we needed it. Emmanuel came in and allowed, I think, most importantly, our other receivers to grow. I don't know how ready all those other guys were quite yet, and Emmanuel came in and took a lot of pressure off the guys right away. His first game was Carolina. I think his second was Arizona, where probably had his best game there versus Arizona, at least statistically. And during that time, it took pressure off other guys and allowed those guys to get a lot better too. And it's been great having Emmanuel in there where guys like Debo and Bourne could watch him, because I think since he's gotten here, those guys have gotten a lot better.
Do you
You get the sense that the rest of the team kind of feeds off the energy that Kendrick and the receiver group exudes?
Yeah, I do. I think those guys are like that all the time. So they do it at practice, they do it on game day. I think our team feeds off the whole team. Whether it's our offense feeds off the defense and special teams, and our defense feeds off the special teams and offense. So it all goes hand in hand. I think we got, like I keep saying, a real close group, and position groups or which side of the ball you're on really doesn't matter.
All right, at this point in the season. Last one. At this point in the season, do you have any off-field concerns with all the extra attention, the distractions potentially that are out there? Anything concern you off the field that you're going through right now?
In terms of what?
Just in terms of media, a player, how they handle it.
No, our players have handled it pretty good all year. I know by this background and these helmets next to me, there's a lot more dog and pony show and stuff, but hopefully our players know it's just Wednesday, like it's been all year, and tomorrow will be Thursday.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
He's on his way.